I have noticed a lot of people criticizing this book were actually very privileged people who it's almost like an automatic thing. Structural racism explains everything. And I got a huge number of, a lot of historically Black colleges and universities love this book. And I was so surprised. They reached out to me and they're like, this is so interesting, because so just to explain to your readers, in this kind of different book, it's not about foreign policy. We look at why certain groups in America are outperforming everybody else. And we kind of looked at the snapshot, who's doing super well. And it was surprising. It included like Iranian Americans and Mormon Americans and Jewish Americans and, again, Cuban Americans. So what connects these people? And we found 3 characteristics that we called the triple package. And the first is this sense of like exceptionality in the group, or we call it a superiority complex. Like we're the chosen people, or we come from this ancient civilization. And the second was, it's almost like the opposite of a superiority complex. The second trait was insecurity. This idea that, oh my gosh, we're not being respected enough. We're outsiders. People are looking down on us. And the third feature was impulse control. And we said, this is so bizarre. And all of the groups that are so outperforming whites and also other groups, they seem to have these 3 features: a superiority complex, simultaneous with a sense of insecurity, often coming from being an immigrant, that creates this kind of chip on the shoulder feeling like, we've got to show everybody, we're not getting the respect. And then this sense of impulse control, the self-discipline thing. So I would get emails from people saying, this is so instructive, because we want to reform our education. We want to, how we raise our children, to see how other groups are succeeding. We can learn from this. So it was interesting that on the one hand, you're getting, usually for more privileged knee-jerk people, don't talk about this. That's cultural racism, they said. And then on the other hand, people are like, from actually underprivileged places, charter schools, they're like, this is so interesting. We would love to know why certain groups do so well so that we can instill these things in our children. And also, it's so great to know that it's not genetic and that anyone can learn them. I give Sonia Sotomayor as an example of a triple package person, because you don't have to belong to any group to have these features. A single mother can do it.
Yeah, no, I think normal people like being told that they're in control of their destiny, and with regard to I'm not so surprised that the pushback to your book came more from, people in elite spaces rather than like historically Black universities and colleges, because I guess, one reason is my father and sister went to HBCU. And, I remember I was talking to my sister once, telling her about how much knee-jerk, woke anti-intellectualism there was at Columbia where I went. And she said, that's funny because, at Spelman, there was almost none of that and everyone is Black. And her analysis of it was that there's nothing to be gained by playing up your, Black activism, your knee-jerk reaction to what is perceived as racism, because there's no white people around. So if everyone is Black, it just cancels out that variable as a mechanism for attaining social status.
It's so interesting. I got to tell you, so I teach at Yale Law School, and I teach this class that's actually one of the most popular classes. It's called International Business Transactions. And, there's always, it's 80 people and there's like a wait list of 100. But, I have a lot of super progressive people who come into this class, both conservatives and liberals, and a lot of immigrants' kids. And it's slightly different, but similar feature. Immigrants' kids will come to me, or immigrants, and they'll say, oh my gosh, Professor Chua, I feel so guilty. Like I might want to be like in the corporate sector, or I might want to like succeed, or I might want to be a partner in a law firm, or maybe be a judge. But there's all this like pressure from usually privileged, people who can afford to, and they're like, oh, that's elitist. You can't go to the corporate sector. You can't try to clerk for a judge because that's all elitism and hierarchy. So I have people, they're like, my dad's this poor Iraqi refugee and I'd like to buy him a house. But I can't mention that here at Yale Law School because that would be called out, And so it's just so ironic, this phenomenon of where a lot of this pressure is coming from. It's often from the people that can afford, to say these things.
I actually know people in my immediate circle of friends at Columbia who went out on whatever it's called when you're trying to get into consulting, the crazy period of hard tests.
Oh, yeah.
But who would tell their very closest friends, please don't tell anyone that I'm going out for this. Because in that context, it hurts your reputation.
Which is crazy because if you really are progressive and you want to see the world change, you want underprivileged groups to be partners in law firms, to be at the top of corporations, to be the judges. And it's so backwards that nobody can do this.
Right.
There should be room for all ways of reform.